Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world today. Very excited to have Vicky Poole on with us on the Wellness Lifestyle Conference. Yes, live interview. I had the pleasure, whilst dealing with a few little technical gremlins and hair gremlins, if you guys can see that as well, to get to know Vicky a little bit better. And I have to say, I'm really excited for today's interview to get to know her even more. And hopefully, you guys are as well. So, Vicky, without further ado, you are our one of our speakers on August the 14th. Very excited.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about a couple of things, though, that got you to this point, because I looked through the topics that you're going to be discussing on your talk. I looked through what we're going to be talking about today. I have to say, everything really resonated deeply with me. And that made me even more keen to hear, what got you to sort of go, I want to get into this more holistic way of looking at things. Was there a turning point for you, or what was your journey like?
Oh, wow. Well, my journey starts at a very early age. My grandparents were very influential in my life, and they survived the Second World War. My granddad survived the D-Day landings, and my parents had me in their 40s. So I actually had quite a lot of traditional values growing up, which were, children should be seen and not heard. Girls shouldn't play football. They should stay at home and sew and learn how to cook. And I'd be at school and I'd see all these other girls and other kids, and they were always having so much more fun than me because they never seemed to really care about what other people thought. And it was only really when I hit like 10, 11, 12 that I realized that there was a generation gap. And that got me really interested in the ancestral learning. So we all have like wisdom that's passed down from parent to child, and then from parent to child and parent to child. And it kind of runs through. It keeps like the wisdom, and it keeps like the faith and the knowledge, everything within the family. And I'd realized that I was like a generation behind. So I thought, I hate being the last one to cross the finish line. At this point in my life, I was a runner. I was a runner for the school. I did 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters relay, hurdles, javelin, shot put. I was very sporty as a child, and I always hated coming last. And because of this generational thing, I really thought that I was behind a lot of my peers. So I really started to look at other parts of my life. And it was only really in my late 20s when I put the last piece of the jigsaw puzzle down and really realized where I needed to start. And where I needed to start was in language itself. So we all get taught words as children. Water bottle, watch, earrings. We get taught words, but we never really get taught how to structure them together in a sentence. And, 50 years ago, our language was much more different to what we have today. Everything is regional. And I talk in my session about calling somebody a duck. If you call somebody a duck in Newcastle, you're calling them a prostitute. And if you say in Yorkshire, up me duck, it's a term of endearment. It's friendly. And, conversely, hinny in Newcastle means a horse. So you'd always find a man with his hinny, and it became known as a man and his wife. If you were to call a woman a hinny, Yorkshire and a bit further south, that's, just equally as rude. So you have two parts of the UK that are no more than 100 miles as the crow flies between each other. And then the language is fundamentally different. So in today's world, when you have so much international travel, emigration, and YouTube, how are we ever going to communicate in a way that doesn't cause friction? And throughout my whole life, I've had so much friction. All I really wanted was calm. And I wanted calm because I'd never had it before. And I wanted happiness and to be clearly understood by people. I have quite a thick accent. So having people understand me is, it can be a challenge at the best of times, especially when I've had a few sherbets. And, I really just wanted to be understood. And that for me was a starting point. So I read a book. It's called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. And that book changed my life. It put me on the journey, and it allowed me to create my vision of what I wanted for the world. And then every few years, I achieved my vision. And then I'm on to the next phase and the next phase and the next phase.
That is so interesting. And I think I resonate with that, not actually more from an esoteric point of view, but some of the work I do is in diversity and inclusion. I work with a company that is very focused on that. And the CEO there is always banging on about language and how
Yeah.
tonality in written word and spoken word affects communication, and how one thing can be deemed, like you say, a slur in one place, and in another country, a term of endearment. And in the UK, as you're saying, literally just right there, 100 miles, and the terms have completely different meanings. What I
Yeah.
find so interesting listening to you and also thinking about my own upbringing in that is coming back to the ancestral part of that is it's so intriguing to me how by the time you as a child get told do certain things, children should be seen and not heard, which I grew up with that as well. You realize only later on in life that a lot of that communication started off probably with very good reasoning when it started, but only the sentence was carried forward for like 4 generations, and the meaning behind it was completely lost along the way.
Yeah.
And I find it so interesting that you are then tackling that, and if I may say so, in your own way, sort of doing ancestral healing for people here and now.
Yeah. So I cover quite a large and broad topic is what I do. And language for me has always been really interesting, because if you go back, to like cavemen-esque,
Mm-hmm.
there's only really 3 types of language that we're interested in. It's where's dinner? Can I mate with this thing?
Right.
And yeah, where is the bear? What's going to kill me?
Right.
And when you look at the communication that we have today, it's all about fear. So my mother would say to me, "You're not going clubbing like that." Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. She could say that. Absolutely fine. And then she'd add on the fear. You look like a slut, or you look like a whore, or you look cheap, or whatever it is. And then that fear goes, "Oh, God, do I?" And then that triggers the change. When it's just somebody's opinion, you can't go out wearing that. It's fine. It's only their opinion. The second the fear comes in, you then start feeling like the pang in your chest is like a knife to the heart. You want to do something. So removing fear is a big thing, and I talk about that very briefly in my session as well. And it's about changing the language, and it's not just changing the language that we say, because what we say is from our subconscious brain. We very rarely think, structured response. I mean, yes, we're having an interview today, but this is something that I've learned, I've talked about a lot. So it's gone from my conscious brain into my subconscious. So a lot of the language that I use has been taught. I have taught myself this language, and I am by no means a finished article. I sometimes catch myself saying certain things and go, "Oh, actually, that had a little bit of judgment in there," and then I have to go back and repeat. And I also talk about the do-over process, because that learning something and getting it right, not just 90% right, but getting it right, is the key to making a change. And I also give away some stock sponsors with some variations on there to help people make changes in their life regarding language or anything else, so that they themselves can also make changes where they want to.
That is really intriguing to me, because I've been accused, rightfully so, in the past of not being intentional in my communication and sort of just saying things off the cuff. And I do tend to be a little bit spontaneous at times. So I can be very quiet. And then if I'm pushed to my breaking point, which varies from day to day, as I'm sure it does for most people, I can sort of just blurt things out, and the intention is not quite what I maybe wanted it to be. I've found it really difficult to then not just be intentional in what I'm trying to get across, but also intentional in thinking about the other person's filters and whether or not what I'm saying is actually going to penetrate through. Now, I bring all of that up because you said something there that I really liked, and that's the do-over process. Am I right in assuming, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that you are, and I want to make sure that my filters aren't getting in the way, that what you're essentially saying is if you're wanting to become a master at this, don't feel bad if you fail. Do over again and do it over again and do it over again until you get it.
Yes, 100%. So the key to making any change in your life is patience, because you're learning something new. You're going to be slow at doing it. Compassion, you're going to get it wrong. So you got to, forgive yourself when you get it wrong, and then practice it. And these are the three elements that I bring into my coaching practice and with all my clients and all my groups, because without those three things, you're really gonna, just slip back into old ways. It's a bit like starting a diet and it's I'm not going to have chocolate for a month. And then on day 3, you have a chocolate hobnob and you go, well, I've already broke my diet. So what's the point?
May as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine learning to drive and not stopping at a roundabout or at a stop sign or at a red light? You have to learn how to stop at those areas, those points. Yes. Otherwise, you don't pass the test. Now, when there's not a test involved, we don't put any effort in. So our intention isn't there. And when we say, no, this is something that I'm passionate about, then I'm going to set the intention to make this happen because I won't tolerate myself not doing this anymore. So here's the question for you that I don't include in my presentation. It's we don't get what we want. We get what we tolerate. So if we tolerate people treating us badly, swearing at us, then that's what we're going to receive. If we tolerate, having fish and chips and like lots of fatty foods, then we tolerate our waistline. If we want change, we've got to stop tolerating stuff and make it happen, because the only person who's responsible is me. I am fully accountable for my life. And if it has to be, if something that I am creating has to be, it's down to me. And that's my responsibility, whether it's language, diet, getting some earrings, it's all down to me. And in a world today, a lot of the millennials, they are very up on responsibility. They want responsibility. They want to know that they themselves are accountable for their actions. And when you look at leaders today, whether it's in business or YouTube, if they do something that's out of alignment with their with their brand or what they're saying,
their core values,
then the followers go, what are you doing? That's not right. You're not held accountable to what you're doing. And they back out, they stop following. So bearing in mind that social media has only really been around for 20 years, we have a whole generation that is now, pushing for accountability. I remember once being in an induction for a company, and, I'm the oldie there. I'm like the 30s, and I'm surrounded by some 18, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, some kids that I just finished their master's degree at university. And one of the guys standing up and going, oh, actually, just want to double check these hours. I have to be online to respond to the Japanese company times, the Indian company times, but I have to work my core hours here in the UK, which is 9 to 5. But you also want me to respond to, East Coast American time. Well, that means I'm working 24 hours a day. When am I supposed to sleep? And the response from the person leading the induction was, well, that's what we pay you for. And this guy was 23, stood up, gave a hand gesture, which I won't give now, and walked out the door.
Brilliant.
And other people did exactly the same. Now, most of the team that they were joining, because I'm nosy, I went and found them, they were in their 50s and 60s. And they really struggled to introduce younger talent, because the core values that they wanted to work by, that had been sold to them as part of the recruitment process, weren't present when they actually joined the company. And we, as the older generation, the ones in our 30s, 40s and above, we have to be able to shift and adapt, because in 20 years' time, we're going to be the minority. the millennials and people who are striving for social value, social change, mindful language, they're going to be ruling the world, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
I know they'll definitely outnumber us by that point.
Mm.
And then we'll be the laggards who then need to be able to keep up and adapt. And you don't have to be perfect. You just have to make the effort.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. And I love what you're saying there about accountability and this new generation, because I often look at them, and sure, there's a couple of things that I don't agree with, you know, when they get, for my taste, a little bit too social justice warrior. I sort of go, oh no, you can't do that. You've got to just do, you know, buckle down and do certain things. It's the old man in me coming out. But on a lot of what they're doing and saying, I'm looking at it, I'm going, you know, I wish when I was growing up that we had, because we had the same thoughts, right? We absolutely did. But I think because we didn't have the global village to the extent that we have today, where somebody in Singapore can connect with a like-minded person in San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
And they then automatically have someone who's got their back. And it gives them a little bit more impetus to go, well, no, actually, I'm not going to stand for this. I want to see more mindful language. I want to see more accountability. And these are my boundaries, and I'm not willing to settle for less. And I'm finding it also really interesting that they're looking at our generation and our parents' generation and the generation before that. And whilst I do think they can learn a little bit from our work ethic, I love that they are going, if I don't have that work-life balance properly, right? So again, not just in words, but in actuality, where there's that intentional language again, I'm just not having it. I'm going to walk away.
Yeah.
And that then comes back to the main sort of topic that we were going to discuss today, which I was so excited in seeing, but I didn't realize we were going to take this tack: confidence in making changes, because that is very much what they're doing. They're not just changing the status quo on a day-to-day basis. They're very confident in doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll try and squeeze us into our last 5 minutes. Making changes is really simple. You know, you can decide to have curry tonight, or you can decide to, you know, cook a salad. It's a choice. Now, which one you choose to do will depend on how your day has gone, what you're feeling. Excuse me, what you're feeling like. If you had a fight with the partner, you know, all these little outside influences are going to come in and influence what you're doing. And then it's no, you know, I'm going to lose weight, so I'm leaning towards the salad. But every single thing that's happened today has upset me, so I'm going to lean towards the comfort food. And we then have a choice, and it's what's more important. And when we look at the what's more important, this is when the vision comes into things. Now, when we know for definite, and I talk about vision quite a lot, when we know what vision that we are creating. So if we look back at my childhood and my life, I was subject to a lot of abuse as a child. I witnessed a lot of abuse as a child, both man on woman and woman on man. I thought this was normal. I grew up being quite vindictive, and my language was incredibly abusive and targeted. I went to university, realized none of that was true, and I kind of started to, you know, put a vision of what I wanted for my life. You know, I could never have a conversation with my parents or with anybody that I really loved or cared about deeply without triggering them. And I kind of know which buttons to press to make them upset, because I found comfort in conflict. I know I was twisted. But there again, that's the benefit of looking back at your life. You can't change your life experiences. You can only change your future, because that's not written yet. And the future comes between, okay, so I can either choose to do what I do right now forever, and I experience the same stuff. Einstein once said, you know, the definition of insanity is wanting a different result but doing the same thing over and over again. Yes. But I wanted a different result. So what result do I want? So then I spent time creating a vision board. And, you know, I can do an introduction in like a couple of hours, but to do it justice, you really need like 6 or 7 hours on it. It's like a 3-week program. And, you take it through everything that you want, and you really get granular, you get real, and you create the thing. So I wanted to have a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs, married with a child by, 2020. I wanted to run my own business. I wanted to have all these things. And in order to have those things, I needed to have certain attributes. So what came out of the vision board was a series of goals. And some of them were financial, some of them were personal. I needed to remove the victim status from my language. So Stefan, when you were talking about, when you're experiencing feedback from other people, you said that you didn't use the word experience. It's, what word did you use? I believed, it's something that was given to you by the people. And,
yes.
The second I heard that word, I went, okay, so, he thinks that other people are wrong. And it's, if you own that language, it's like, I have experienced feedback that says that I'm not intentional with my language. That's like, it's neutral. Every event is neutral. What I choose to do with it, is what I choose. And when I bring that choice into my vision board, you then dictate to yourself how you want to be. And then this vision board you carry with you. So it's like a picture on your phone, it's a screensaver on your computer, you've got it up around the house. And then it's the, oh my God, I've had a really rubbish day. Everything that's happened has happened to upset me. I have a goal. When you see your vision board, I have a goal of losing 50 pounds by Christmas or your birthday or whenever it is. And it's the, do I have the curry or do I have the salad? That's on my vision board. That needs to happen. If it's got to be, it's down to me. I'm going to have a salad. Forget all this other stuff. So then the confidence really comes by holding yourself accountable. And if you don't have that vision board, if you don't have that list of actions that are going to help you achieve that, then you're not held accountable to anything, because you're just aimlessly doing the same things that you're doing right now. And if you want to create something powerful, it starts with a vision. And then when I got that vision, for me, it was language. And that's what I did.
Amazing. Amazing. And I love the fact that you are so clear on the fact that the accountability actually comes from you.
Yeah.
It's not external, it's internal. It's a change that happens within. And then I think you feel so much more empowered doing that. That is just brilliant.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say that leadership, because when we're talking about accountability, we are talking about leadership. Mm-hmm. When you don't know how to lead yourself, you need an accountability partner or an accountability group, which is these are the commitments that I am making. This is the list of things that will happen if I don't achieve it. And this is the list of other people that are going to suffer if I don't achieve what I'm going to achieve, or what I'm saying I'm going to achieve. And then we kind of like get together, and I offer this as well. I've got a group of 4 ladies that I'm supporting at the moment. And no one wants to stand up and go, those 3 things I said I was going to do last month? Yeah, I didn't do them. Because you kind of hold yourself accountable, because you don't want to be the only person there who hasn't done it.
Right.
And then what happens is you get used to holding yourself accountable to doing those things, because everything is about practice. Remember, we talked about this earlier. Patience, compassion, and practice. You can try the actions that you say that you're going to deliver, and if they don't work, you've tried them. What is next? And sometimes when you're so used to thinking a certain way that you can't think a different way. And that's why being an accountability group is really, really valuable. And then over time, you kind of duck out, the accountability sessions get longer in between, your vision gets bigger, or even you start doing self-leadership. So there are parts of my life that I offer self-leadership on, like for myself. And then there are parts where I have an accountability partner, where we hold each other to account. I mean, I've been doing this now for 10 years, and I've been on this live track now for 10 years, and I still have an accountability partner, because without it, it's I'll do that tomorrow, and tomorrow turns into Friday, and then Friday turns into next week, because, it's not as important as clients. And then before you know it, a month's gone by, And what have I done? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That accountability partner just makes it work. And the accountability partner enforces the vision. And by the vision, they enforce the actions, which means that you are then held accountable to your vision. And that's how you instigate change. Some people might hear this and go, well, that's just bullying tactics. Look at the language. Bullying is a victim language. It's because you're not ready to make a change. And that's fine. For a lot of years, I wasn't ready to make a change. Something just needs to happen in your life to make you think, wow, this needs to happen for me right now.
Yeah.
And, I talk about language in my session, and it's so valuable and so important.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Vicky, I know we are on a bit of a time crunch.
We are. Sorry.
But this has been amazing. Also just resonated so deeply with me in terms of certain changes that I'm wanting to make in my life. So thank you so much for coming on this interview today. And we definitely look forward to having you on the Wellness Lifestyle Conference on the 14th. For those people who are wanting to get in touch with you and wanting to work with you and wanting to be confident in the changes that they're wanting in their lives, how should they get in touch with you?
Oh, fantastic. Well, you can have a look at my website, vickypoolecoaching.co.uk. In the top right-hand corner, I've got all of my links to my social medias, and you can also pop me an email from there as well. So Excellent. Have a look at my website, one-stop shop.
Brilliant. And for our viewers here today, whether you're watching this on YouTube or catching the replay on Facebook, the links for Vicky's website and all her social media are also in the description of this interview. Vicky, wonderful to have you today. Hope to have you back soon again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me on. I look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye.